We know what's on everyone's minds these days. What is Taylor Swift doing in Kansas? And of course, student loan repayments.
Tens of millions of Americans are expected to resume paying student loans after a 3-year pandemic-era pause.
Not just 20-year-olds in NYU sweatshirts eating ramen who are scared about repayment. It's also fancy Wall Street guys wearing suits and eating expensive ramen.
Forbes says that the resumption of student loan payments could be a potential dark cloud for the economy. What are these things and why are they hurting our sweet baby economy?
I'm Sabra Kojis.
And I'm Michelle Cohn.
And this is Just So You Know. The history of student loans is a classic American tale. Different American tale. By which we mean it's full of white guys making bad decisions.
In the 50s, Eisenhower created the National Defense Education Act, which allowed high-achieving white men to go into fields that supported national defense. Schools got funds to create armies of nerds, so it was basically like the most boring version of X-Men you've ever seen.
In the 60s, Lyndon Johnson passed the Higher Education Act, which gave loans directly to students. Johnson wanted to make education universally accessible, especially to students from low-income backgrounds, but the government couldn't provide the money for the loans directly, so he had to get the banks on board. Working with the banks to foster a more equal society is like working with Kendall Roy to eradicate nepotism. Or frankly, just working with Kendall Roy to do anything.
I might die.
The big question is, how did these loans get so Violet Beauregard level inflated?
What's happening?
You're blowing up like a balloon!
A 2017 study found the more federal aid is given to students, the more colleges raise tuition. It's like how a bunch of people watch Law & Order, and now there are so many spin-offs, I couldn't even tell you where Mariska Hargitay is. Is she okay? And now, more than 70 years later, Americans owe about $1.8 trillion in federal and private student loan debt. With that money, we could build 8,850 vessels.
Or we could pay 2 people to date Sabra. So now that student loan repayments have restarted, who does this affect most? First off, there are the individual effects. Student debt accounted for a 20% decline in the rate of homeownership among young adults. Personally, I can't afford to buy a house because I always order my avocado toast with a side of crippling debt.
But it's also big businesses that are feeling the pressure. Companies are worried that their customers' debt will affect their spending habits.
Especially since the policies are set to begin just as the holiday shopping season kicks off.
Quote, the upcoming resumption of student loan repayments will put additional pressure on the already strained budgets of tens of millions of households, said Target CFO Michael Fidelki.
Luckily for Target, most of its customers don't actually buy anything. They're just millennials cosplaying as homeowners.
What are you personally doing to calm the fears of Target CFO Michael Fidelki?
What? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Great.
Our survival may depend on degrees and graduates. The decade ahead is one of critical decision. Expand.
We need a plan B. We need it now. We need our student loan relief.
So much for Johnson's accessible system for education. Lyndon B. Johnson, more like Lyndon B. tanking the economy.
So how do we fix the student debt crisis? First, we can make higher education more accessible by lowering costs. That way people don't have to take out loans in the first place. And then second, actually, could we just do that first one? That sounds like a pretty good idea.
We could also increase federal funding, lower multi-million-dollar salaries, and encourage universities to collaborate and cut costs.
And if that doesn't work, we can all just go to Hamburger University. The meal plan is free, and you get to graduate under golden arches.
Go fighting grimaces! Till next time, I'm Sabra Kojis.
And I'm Michelle Cohn.
And this is
Just So You Know.
Next time on Just So You Know, M&M World. It's a thing.